All right, everybody, welcome back to another video inside of the Facebook Marketplace Dropshipping course. In this video, we're going to be talking about adding singular items into SKU Grid, which, seems like a pretty easy task, but there are some specific things that you want to be weary of when you are adding your items into SKU Grid. So these are for items you've already sourced or anything like that. Pretty much we're going to be going over the three main suppliers, the Amazon, Walmarts, and Home Depots, and then some settings that you might want to set up for your suppliers in general. So one thing to say is that you can do whatever you want when you're going and sourcing these items, but this is what I would do, and this is what I do. This is what I suggest doing in order for you to run a more streamlined, smooth operation in your store. Again, the whole theme here is making sure that you negate or avoid any issues before they actually happen, and this is going to be a big one of them. So when you want to add an item into SKU Grid, again, you just go to My Items. You're going to click Add a Single Item. You can add them in bulk, but again, if you're listing like one or so at a time on Facebook, like we do teach, there's no bulk uploading onto Facebook Marketplace yet, so there's no real need to bulk upload onto SKU Grid either. You can just add them one by one, and it's pretty easy. So all you really need to do is click Add a Single Item right here. All you're going to need is these three things. You're not going to click I have the item listed. You're not going to click I need to list the item, because we're not listing these items through SKU Grid at a marketplace. We're going and listing by hand on Facebook because that's the only option to do so. And we're just using SKU Grid to send us notifications of any updates with these items, if they're in stock, out of stock, price change. So again, reference ID, that's where I usually put from the sourcing sheet, where I have the WAL if it's Walmart, and then the item number after that, or AMZ with the ASIN after it. That's where I usually put the reference ID. As you can tell, I did it right here. This is the item number. Here's the reference, WAL dash the item number, WAL dash the item number. Doesn't truly matter. It doesn't really do anything, but it just helps you, have another just way to sort your items and just be able to tell which items are which. Because you can search here, so you could search by things that have a reference of like this, and you'd be able to sort by them, if you want to do anything like that. But so let's just say we're not paying attention to the reference ID. We're going to be paying attention to the supplier link and the variations. So one thing to note is that on Amazon has, and we don't want this at the end of it, like if it says SKU opt or anything at the end of the URL, that's pretty much what SKU Grid it'll say hashtag SKU opt something. That's what SKU Grid adds in, and that's how it goes based on your pricing rules, which what we're going to talk about here. So pretty much, this is the the ASIN number of an Amazon item. This is the item unique identifier of it. Every single item on Amazon has its own ASIN number. So if we were going to click on a different one, as you can tell, anything right here doesn't matter, but it goes DP dash or slash ASIN slash. This is all you need for the URL. So every single thing. So this ends in VEW. If I click this one, all of this doesn't matter. It ends in 2M1J. So you can tell every single item has its own unique identifier. So you don't need to say what the different variations are when you're adding a link into Amazon, or into SKU Grid from Amazon. So let's click on this one. You want to make sure it's a clean URL, which means that none of this extra stuff at the end that Amazon adds on there is there. And then we just copy this. So if we paste this in here, say store Amazon product identified, it's going to give you two things: select option and supplier variation. So you can fetch the variation. We can click fetch variation list and wait for it. I'm going to pause the video because it's been slow lately. All right, so basically for some reason that one item didn't work, so I just found another item that has multiple variations here. I put in the URL, and then I just clicked fetch variation list, and now it has a drop down of the variations. But again, like I said, since the unique identifier changes, like right here it's 80HYK, 80HYK. If I click on the orange one, it changes to 80L0A, and you can get rid of that. So anytime the unique identifier changes, anytime that you have a variation, you don't actually need to click fetch variation list, because this is a unique identifier based off that one specific product. You do not need to actually apply the variation. You don't need to click fetch variation list. You don't need to do any of that. So let's go on to Walmart here. Just another example. It ends in 7031. If we click on the weathered oak one, anything if there's a question mark as well, you can get rid of that. Anything after that. and this one ends in 2951. So every time you click on a unique variation, it changes the unique item ID. Same thing on Home Depot. Excuse me. This one ends in 9100. We click on the gray one, it ends in 1814. So anytime, like I said, the actual item ID changes with the variation, you do not need to actually go and click fetch variation. So just an okay method of doing this, and the way to actually do this is just put it in, and you don't need to click fetch variation list. So you do not need to have this. In the sourcing sheet, I do have the fetch variation, or I do have the variation thing in the sourcing sheet, just so that when you're sourcing, you know what it is, so that you make sure that your link is proper. And that's pretty much it for the variation thing. So when does it not change? Here's an example. There's a supplier called the Lakeside Collection. I know people use them a lot on Amazon. I didn't even put them in the suppliers list, but you can definitely also look into using them, and LTD Commodities, which is their sister company. But if we look, there's a really weird URL. This is what their regular URL looks like, and it says prod 3810575. And I would keep all of this, at least I would keep this. So if we go to select item, this is one variation of it, it still stays the same. If we click this one, it still stays the same. Click this one, it stays the same. So for this one, if your supplier does this, again, the three main suppliers, Amazon, Walmart, Home Depot, you don't need to actually put in what the variation is. But if you start branching off into these other suppliers, then you're going to want to, actually fetch the variation list, which I'll pause it. Oh, no, it worked. And then at this point in time, say you wanted the love sentiment one, then you would actually click that and then click apply. So that's pretty much it for variations. Again, if your unique identifier changes when you click the variation in the URL, then you don't actually need to put fetch variation. If it doesn't, like on the Lakeside Collection, then you will actually need to fetch the variation to make sure you get the correct one, so that SKU Grid can scrape the right one and check for price changes and check for out of stocks at the right one. So secondly, let's talk about the select option feature. So let's just take this Amazon, and I'm just gonna go over it for Amazon and Walmart because they're gonna be the two big players here. I did that video on pretty much talking about if you're dropshipping from a marketplace like Walmart, you wanna have items that are shipped and sold by Walmart. From Amazon, you want items to be usually FBA only, even better would be ships from and sold by Amazon only. But that's, that would limit you in the amount of items that you can actually source. So if we click here, you add in your reference ID. Let's just do it for the sake of doing it here. There we go. We don't need to use the variation like we said, but if you click the select option, there is a large drop-down menu here. You want to make sure that your option is what you actually want here. So there's a lot, and I'm not going to get into all of them, but the one you want to be using is most likely only offers that are fulfilled by Amazon. That's going to be only offers that are, Prime offers that are fulfilled by Amazon, because there is something called seller fulfilled Prime. So a seller fulfilled Prime would be if it has Prime, but it says ships from and the buyer's name and sold by shipped from the seller's name and sold by the seller's name, instead of ships from Amazon sold by a third party. That just means that they shipped it into Amazon. That's fine. So what I would suggest that you do here is only offers that are fulfilled by Amazon, or where's the other one? Only Amazon offers. So only Amazon offers are going to be only items that are shipped from and sold by Amazon. And then the other one, which was called only offers that are fulfilled by Amazon, will allow for others if there are people that are third-party sellers on it that have shipped the item into Amazon. I would try to find one, but I don't have one. Let me pause the video for a second. All right, here's an example. If we scroll down, it says ships from Amazon sold by No House Inc. So that means that they shipped it into Amazon, but this is the person who owns the item technically. You're still under jurisdiction of all Amazon's return policies and everything like that, so you're good to go on items like this. If you want items like that, that's where you would put only offers that are fulfilled by Amazon. So I suggest that this is probably gonna be the one that you're gonna wanna do. Most likely everybody will wanna be doing this one. So that being said, what are we gonna be doing for Walmart? Walmart, let's just take this item, put it in here, and we're gonna type in WAL. Just to go over it. Again, Walmart's unique identifier changes every single time, so we don't need to fetch the variation list. and then we're going to click select option. We have a decent amount here. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So select option, you're going to want to click, or at least look at them. Set in stock for allow restricted products. Set out of stock for allow restricted products. I don't even really know what that is. So there's only items sold by Walmart, only offers by seller name. We're not going to do that one. Only offers by Walmart or Hayneedle. So what's the difference between only sold by Walmart and only offers by Walmart or Hayneedle? So Walmart owns Hayneedle, but the one thing is that they do sell Hayneedle items on Walmart, which is fine to drop ship. But the number one thing is, unless it's changed recently, is that if you're tax exempt at Walmart, say that you have tax exemption at Walmart only counts if you're buying from items that are shipped and sold from Walmart. So if it's shipped and sold from Hayneedle, even though Hayneedle is owned by Walmart, for some reason the tax exemption does not work, so you'll pay more. So I suggest that you do only items sold by Walmart, and select that option so that you are making sure that, say Walmart sells out of this item, and say there isn't anybody else selling on it, but say that in the video where I showed that other people are selling on it, if Walmart sells out and then a third party person comes in, it will put this item out of stock. So you want to make sure that you're actually doing this and make sure that you're paying attention to these things, because this is very important to make sure that your listings just work properly and you're getting the right notifications sent to you so you can adjust them on your actual Facebook Marketplace. So if I do Home Depot, there are some options. Price based on zip code 11101. That's the zip code. I said in another video, I said 10001. I believe they're both going to New York either way, but SKU Grid by default uses 11101 as a zip code. But the reason why they have price based on custom zip code is because at Home Depot, sometimes if you change the zip code, the price will actually change. It's not worth it for what we're doing to really go about doing such a thing. And then allow, schedule, and express deliveries. That's if you're going to schedule the delivery. That's way too much effort, and you have to get your items out within 3 days. It's most likely not going to happen. Probably going to go freight because these are large items, and it's not going to be worthwhile for you. So just leave this as default. You'll be good to go. And always click save, of course. So again, you don't need to fetch the variation list if the actual item identifier in the URL changes every single time. If it changes, you don't need to actually click fetch variation. And sometimes if you do, it will end up messing it up or cause just more hassle than it needs to be. So only if you have a supplier where every single time you click a different variation, it doesn't change, would you have to actually go into SKU Grid. And you can type these in, but it never works if you try to do it on your own. Just always click fetch variation list. It will go fetch it for you, and then you can just pick what variation you want. Again, this is very important because say the blue one goes out of stock and you're listing the blue one, or say you didn't pick the right one and you have the love sentiment listed on your store, but you accidentally clicked the spring and summer one variation when you were actually putting it onto SKU Grid. If the spring and summer one's still in stock, but the love sentiment one is out of stock, but you listed it as love sentiment, you just had the wrong one connected in SKU Grid, then you won't get a notification. You'll sell the item possibly, and then it won't be in stock, and you'll be like, what the hell happened? So you really want to be paying attention to this. You really want to be making sure that everything is in order and that you're actually putting systems in place to make sure that everything is done properly. So hopefully this video wasn't too confusing. I've never really gone too in depth in this on other courses because it wasn't always necessarily needed, but it's definitely more highly suggested. And also, SKU Grid's been adding more of these options in as time has gone on. So there used to not be as many of these options, in the day, but now there is. So, SKU Grid's adding in more things every single day for us, and I couldn't be more thankful for, the work that they do, because this is a great software, and, almost everybody that's a serious retail dropshipper exclusively uses this program, and it's great. So hopefully this video was helpful. If you have any questions, be sure to ask them down below and or in the Facebook group. I know I only went over the main 3, but I believe with what I told you, in this video, with the other 12 suppliers that I provide in the course, you'll be able to figure it out. Thank you very much. Hopefully it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.